Bitcoin, if you overlay that with the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, again, over the last couple months, if you just look at it from a multi-month horizon, they do look very much correlated to each other. So do you have the same analysis for Bitcoin as you did for the NASDAQ?
Yeah, I do. In fact, almost identical. And you're right. There are periods with Bitcoin where it diverges slightly. And for instance, when there was this fear in early April that the treasuries were not demanded by other countries, countries were fighting back saying, hey, we're not going to buy U.S. debt. We saw that uptick in yields. The market obviously panicked, but Bitcoin started to see some interest there. Same thing with the dollar, where the dollar has historically been the safe haven asset. But for short periods, people were like, wait a minute, maybe the dollar's not the best safe haven. Maybe we should buy some Bitcoin. But aside from those rare instances, the market has led Bitcoin up and down. And we could see that very clearly. Like last week when Elon Musk and Trump were having their feud and the stock market sold off, we saw Bitcoin selling off. Then as the stock market has rallied back up, Bitcoin has rallied up as well. But
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge. Gareth Soloway shares bold thoughts on Bitcoin's bullish sentiment and market signals. Stick around to see what could happen next.
having said that, you have to look at this chart right here. And I'm going to just zoom out on this one chart on Bitcoin. And I want to show you this trend line. And this is the trend line that has me thinking that Bitcoin, while it could go a little higher, is capped in the near term. Look at this trend line, guys. This is a parallel. And again, what we can see on this parallel is that you have your exact low here and here. And then if we flip over and look at the highs, the 2017 bull market high, the first high in 2021, the second high in 2021, and then here in 2024, early 2025, look at that high right up into that parallel. So what that tells me is that if we see Bitcoin rallying up, it's going to have a lot of resistance right here, and it's going to likely get rejected again and come back in. And that matches generally the thesis that the NASDAQ, the S&P might have a little bit more upside here, maybe to new all-time highs. In this case, Bitcoin could hit a new all-time high, but then be very careful of that big pullback that we have clearly seen. Here, the bear market, here, the bear market. Does that institute another bear market on Bitcoin? If the NASDAQ goes into one, most likely.
Interesting. Same question I have for Bitcoin as I did for the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. At any point, would you say it's time for a reversal? In other words, what are the levels for the floor and the ceiling?
Yeah, so ceiling is going to be, at least based on this chart, around 115. So you got a ceiling of around 115. And then you would be basically, for me at least as a technician, if we ever get back to this lower band of the parallel, that would be where I would be a buyer, which is down around 55 to 60,000. And obviously people will freak out when I say that. But remember, historically, Bitcoin pulling back, this would be about a 50% pullback. It's actually not that unusual to see that type of pullback. In addition, if we look at the chart here, look at this. That level coexists right with this area of support that Bitcoin was at just back in July of 2024, basically 1 year ago. And so it would be a good retrace hitting two major supports, and then you would have to think that Bitcoin would be a buy. And I just want to be clear, I'm a shorter term investor and trader. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin over the longer term. But again, being a chartist, I have to let the charts tell me where resistance is and where support is.
Bitcoin has once again captured the spotlight, climbing to $110,000 on June 11 and fueling fresh excitement across the market. The move marks a 10% surge since June 5, and now the big question is, how high can it go? Analysts are pointing to a potential breakout above $111,000, which could open the door to $120,000, $140,000, or even $150,000. Some, like Michael Saylor, believe the long-term target is much bigger. He's calling for $1 million. Chart watchers see bullish signs everywhere. Patterns like the cup and handle and bull flag suggest more upside is likely. With Bitcoin just a few percent below its all-time high, a strong move through current resistance could trigger a chain reaction in the market. The Binance liquidation heat map shows heavy pressure around $112,000 and $114,000, meaning if those levels break, short sellers may get squeezed, fueling even higher prices. Meanwhile, institutional interest is growing fast. Firms like Strategy and ARK Invest are stacking Bitcoin, and with ETF increasing exposure, demand keeps rising. While regulatory uncertainty and volatility remain, many believe Bitcoin's scarcity and rising adoption will drive prices higher in the long run. Whether it's $120,000 or $1 million, momentum is clearly building.
If you just look at the chart that you have on the screen here, mid-2024, Bitcoin had a bit of a pullback. Were you surprised that the pullback was not as big as it could have been? In other words, I think it went down from 71 to about 57. So that was less than a 50% retracement. Were you surprised by that move?
Not really, only because the stock market was still in a bull mode, right? We still were seeing that was, by the way, that pullback in Bitcoin coexisted with our July into early August stock market drop, where it was, panic there for a very short period of time. But what we know is that the stock market then ripped higher to new all-time highs, and that's exactly what Bitcoin did. And in fact, what this is called here, the beauty of this chart pattern, just for a little education, this is what we would call a bull flag, right? So you have a big up move, there's your flagpole right here, and here's your bull flag. That was telling us another move was going to come up, and that's exactly what it did until we tagged the high end of the parallel.
Interesting. Now, let's say Bitcoin breaches above your ceiling, so above 117,000, 115,000. What would you do then? Would that be an overbought signal, or would that be a bull market signal?
So if it, and first of all, you're exactly right. A good trader always understands that any level of resistance that they have could be broken, just like any support level that they have. So if we were to break above it, I would watch it carefully, because sometimes what the charts do and the institutions do is they'll push things above a little bit just to try to stop out the weak hands on the short side and get more bulls on board before reversing it. And so I'd watch very closely to see if it confirms above that level. And if it does, then you got to think that we're probably headed towards that 150 zone, which would be your next resistance point. But again, right now, as long as that level is there, meaning the 115 level, I respect it until proven otherwise.
The crypto market got a fresh boost after U.S. SEC Chairman Paul Atkins expressed strong support for Bitcoin and digital assets. His positive remarks helped push Bitcoin to nearly $110,000, briefly setting a new local high before pulling back slightly. This wave of optimism didn't just lift Bitcoin, altcoins started gaining traction too. With market momentum building, there are 4 altcoins worth keeping a close eye on for potential rallies. Chainlink is gaining serious attention as it continues to bridge traditional finance with blockchain tech. Founder Sergey Nazarov says Chainlink powers over $60 billion in DeFi activity, making it a key player. If it can break above $16 and hold, it could climb towards $17.50 or higher. Ethereum remains a market heavyweight. Over 34 million Ethereum is now staked, showing strong investor confidence. If Ethereum holds above $2,800, analysts see $3,100 or even $3,650 as the next targets. Injective is showing signs of life again after hitting 2 billion transactions. If it climbs past $15 and clears resistance near $18, it could soar toward $31. Hyperliquid is on fire. With its user base tripling, it hit a new all-time high at $42. A small dip to $39 to be a good entry point before aiming for $44, $46. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.